Hey guys, Greg and Ryan here. We're back for some more breakdowns of American Horror Story. Today, episode 5 and episode 6. Let's start with episode 5, Greg. It's called Bad Fortune. And off the bat, we get a little musical number here. It is a performance for Kathy. Remember, we left off last week where she was kind of doing a little bit of trying to find some new help at the bathhouse. You know, she doesn't want to be up there singing herself. So this song, Witchcraft. I thought it was very fitting, a Frank Sinatra song, very fitting because of course, the connection with her and Coven, and just the whole performance here really sets the tone that there's going to be some supernatural things at play in this episode.
Now, Kathy, she's got things to do. She can't stay here anymore. I know we've had an emotional moment with her last week where she knew she had to fight and help people, but this week, Mama's got to make that money. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So she's out. She's not only is she says, okay, good. You guys are good. You're safe here at the bathhouse. You can take care of the music from now on. She's got someone to take care of it. And then we find out, she has her own psychic joint. She's got her own thing going on in the background, Ryan. It's great. Now we see her.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have a couple side hustles, right? You can't just have the bathhouse. That is a funny point to make, though, Greg. Last week, we thought that she actually cared, and there was a little heart-to-heart between her and Gino, right?
Yeah.
We thought that she maybe cared about the gay community that was being affected by all this killers. So, she acted like she was into it and wanted to help, but then really, it just comes down to the bottom line. She's just trying to make that money.
Capitalism, the ultimate ghost in AHS.
This is entertainment, honey.
So we're back with Hannah and Adam. Now, in the last episode, they alluded to something going on with Hannah, and I thought, she was pregnant. Here, it's out and confirmed that, yes, he is her sperm donor. Kind of like Look Who's Talking. But not Look Who's Talking, actually, because there's no John Travolta talking dogs. Or Bruce
Great
Willis.
movie, though.
Okay, this will pass. Oh, watch your head. Wow.
I am your father.
Another great little reference here, talking about films. The Empire Strikes Back, I Am Your Father. That movie came out in theaters like a year before this takes place, 1980. So, it is a fun little around the time that someone would make when it comes to like a baby. It's in the culture right now. So I enjoyed that.
Now, I'm pretty sure a lot of people were online Googling and wondering, we were as well, because, Billie Lourd, she just had a child recently, so we're kind of like tracking down, was she actually pregnant on set during these times? No idea, because actually it doesn't really match up at all, but I thought that was, it's cool that she's now expecting her second child, and she's been pregnant in the AHS canon at least twice as well. There's an episode of Stories, Brian, that she's pregnant in. I thought that was one of the better ones. And then now, and for on AHS proper, she's also pregnant.
So you talked about it earlier, Greg. Fran and her new gig as a psychic / tarot card reader. She gets her first customers, which is Hannah and Adam, who want to stroll by and just get a little reading before with their new baby on the way.
Love it.
And you just knew this was going to be some weird stuff was going to happen. Fran starts playing the cards, and it kind of freaks out Hannah completely because she gets the death card. Now, Greg, what I did look up online at tarot.com and thetarotguide.com just about the death card, what I pulled from all this information is that it's not literal death. It could be the end of something or a transformation that you're going through, or kind of just like putting something in the past and moving forward. It could be anything. I think, a project you're working on, a path towards something that you're that's hopefully working out. So it's not literal death that they kind of play into in this episode, in these two episodes of oh my God, this person's gonna die.
Correct. And I like the way they played that, but at the same time, you're gonna be a little spooked out if every card has death on it.
Obviously, Fran is BSing her way through this whole thing, but some weird stuff does happen in the room. I love how this is played kind of comedic, very campy and comedically, as well as just kind of what the hell is going on. It's the subway underneath making all that ruckus in the room, and then the voice change right there, Greg. I mean, that killed me.
What is this? It's just the subway.
Yeah, you're talking now we're going Sam Raimi. I just watched Drag Me to Hell for Halloween again, so this whole thing was just like I'm in. And then yes, of course, the camp is back a little bit. We talked about it earlier in the season how that felt a little dry, but it was still a great story and it was set on everything and still is. But now this one again, it feels a little bit more like American Horror Story. Okay, Ryan, let's stick with all the tarot card readings, and now Gino is in the room. Yep. Of course, everyone's joining this room. I love it. Gino's in the room now, and of course, we're going to get that death card, but there's a little bit more. Hey, we get an Easter egg.
This was a fun one, Greg. Obviously, fans of the show know exactly who we're referring to here. The Angel of Death, Shachath. Shachath? Is that correct?
Skaha.
Not Skaha.
Not Skaha? Okay.
Shachath. Those two are...
Scathach.
Anyways, the Angel of Death from Asylum, played by, obviously, the legend Frances Conroy. That character pops up here and wants to kiss Gino. Now, clearly the actress here is not Conroy. It was Rebecca Dayan. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. You can see they're kind of obscuring the face, but you can tell it's basically the same character that, once she kisses you, you're dead, you pass. Gino, does everything he can to stop this from going down. But the interesting thing here, Greg, is that Kathy is in the seat here. So we know that Fran is a fraud when it comes to the readings, but Kathy, is she faking it? Is there a lot of illusions here? Do we think that Kathy might have some supernatural abilities or something that we're not quite sure? Because we don't know a whole lot of her backstory.
Hey, I mean, that would be cool. Because again, at the beginning of the episode, what are they singing? Witchcraft. So,
hell yeah.
I mean, there's a nod to it, but again, you could say, oh, that's a nod to Coven. That's cute. And then later we get Scathach, excuse me, another nod, this time to Asylum. I don't know. I want to say yes. I just want to say yes. There could be, I think there is more to Kathy as well. Don't know. I don't know if we're going to get any supernatural still, but we got it here, so.
Now on to what's happening with Patrick and Barbara. They're finalizing their divorce. Barbara's having a very tough time with it, obviously, and she collapses during the proceedings of signing the papers. Wakes up, and I was on my toes about Leslie Grossman's character. Obviously, you never really know the ulterior motives of some of her characters these seasons, but poor Barbara this season, right? She was not who I thought she was going to end up being. She's having a really rough time, as I said. Patrick goes to check in on her dog that she got, and of course, I thought immediately that she was setting him up for something. But Big Daddy pops out and attacks Patrick. This is now the second run-in that he's had with Big Daddy.
He was hiding in the closet, by the way. Just I
yes.
that was a little. I don't know. It was a little not. There's a little something going on there. But at the same time, Barbara, man, I did not see that coming. I thought she would be, holding Big Daddy's skull like Sleepy Hollow and controlling him at the end or something. No, not at all. So Patrick's attacked by Big Daddy. The next day, he talks to the cops. They don't really believe him, and now, of course, remember, he's out, and it's spreading in the police force and who knows where else, as we find out later in the episode. But again, it looks like there's something going on here where they're like, wait, if you were attacked by Big Daddy, how come neither one of you are dead? Where is he?
Yeah.
It's a lot of strange things going on here, and now they're starting to question him. And also, the cops, now that they found out that he's gay, there seems to be a little bit of a little disconnect now between them.
Interesting that he survived 2 encounters with Big Daddy. Of course, if no one survives these, you would think, and then he survives both of them, and he's not killed, and he just gets knocked out. He tries to shoot him, doesn't kill him. So at this point, it's like, is this a real person? Is it a ghost? I have no clue what's going on. Barbara gets back from the hospital, and it's like, you know something. It's not resolved yet, right, Greg? I had a weird feeling about what would happen to the next to these people in the next couple scenes. We get a little montage of everyone cleaning up, and this was a fun little homage to Dressed to Kill, Brian De Palma's film of the demise of Barbara, unfortunately, while she's taking a shower.
Yeah.
It was a pretty fun nod to that movie. But like we said, we expected a lot more from Leslie Grossman's character in terms of like kind of be involved in the story, and at this point now she's out of the picture.
She got the psycho treatment, sadly, at the end. The Norman Bates, treatment. At the same time, now we're again. Who's doing this? I think Patrick's up to something. I still think there might be a reveal that it's somehow Patrick, just because just some of the hotel stuff, like the cop work, the detective work, and how we know what happened to our main lead in that season, and what he turned out to be. Spoilers for a very, very early season, but I'll just say. There's some things about Patrick that even with the next episode that you could be like, I don't know. It's just something. Someone may be controlling Big Daddy at the end of the day. And there are two big targets, Patrick and Sam.
All right, Greg, let's wrap up episode 5 with Mr. Whiteley, who is running his own sort of experiments at his place. He has the victims bound up from last episode, ready for operation. Just a fun game of operation, Greg. And then we see a crucified figure that he's been kind of putting together, building. He does mention like the New York City Pride Parade, that he wants to have a big show, and basically he's been kind of mutilating people and putting together pieces. Speaking of pieces, this seems like an apt homage to the movie Pieces in 1982. Let me read you this synopsis. The co-eds of a Boston college campus are targeted by a mysterious killer who is creating a human jigsaw puzzle from their body parts. Greg, this is pretty fitting for this one. I haven't seen that movie yet, but this is some crazy stuff going on. Mr. Whiteley is completely deranged.
Yeah, and when I saw that, immediately I just think of, obviously Silence of the Lambs, but for me, I just think of Scream 2. Sorry. Scream 2. I'll always think of that stupid movie. I love it.
Oh, God, yes. That's spot on, Greg. But yeah, he's basically like Dr. Frankenstein putting together some sort of monster of various body parts from all these poor, innocent gay men in the city of New York. So, Mr. Whiteley, exceedingly becoming one of the more creepy villains that I think that we've seen on the series as a whole. Yep.
And, of course, now that we jump into the next episode, we're going to get a little bit of backstory on him as well. I don't think that's the end of that. Of course, like all of our villains, we're going to get a little bit more peeled back. Decisions. Now we jump to episode 6, The Body, where, it's just two guys on the beach, making out, and it's the middle of the night, as you do, and then all of a sudden, ouch, you get a bite, or they thought it was a bite at the time. It turns out, oh no, it's skeletal remains from a body.
And not only is it just like bones, like human remains, but also, Greg, there's like a mask, a face like with a mask on it. So that this is somewhat tied into the murders that we've seen, or in that type of scene. Someone with a mask on, meeting up with someone in this area on Fire Island. And I got some real like Jaws vibes, like the opening of Jaws, sun goes down on a beach, some horrific things can happen. It kind of set the tone of it's a perfect like kind of horror story setting for this type of story.
Now from there, those two gentlemen decide to call Patrick Ryan. So they heard through the grapevine that he's a friend of Judy. So they want to know now, how did he get this information? Who told him? Was it the police? Did they leak it? Because now word around town is getting out. But I don't think it was the police. I think it was Sam. Because it's Fire Island. We find out later this is Sam's property. This is his party house. This is where everything goes down. So he's got a name in this neighborhood. With that said, I wonder if, he told them. Because we find out next, guess what? Sam and Patrick, they know each other very well.
Two guys found a body on Fire Island.
Yeah, and let's talk about that big reveal right here. What happens when Patrick then calls Sam after getting the information. I was like, "What?" I could not. I was a bit shocked. That was a good twist because we see earlier in the season Patrick has that kind of showdown with Sam at his apartment during that party, which we know was all done for show, just to kind of make sure you're following up and doing your work. Make sure you're doing it in front of another cop that sees that you're taking this seriously and looking into these inquiries very seriously. Someone was definitely taken advantage of in that situation, so we had to follow up with it. But these two have a history, and we soon find out after a flashback to 1979 that it is a very dark history.
And I know what you know about pain.
Okay, so Ryan, this is AHS, so things start to happen in rapid fire as now we're at episode 6. Like the middle, every season of AHS, outside of last season, things go, characters, everything be damned, they're going to start doing things that you probably didn't think they were going to do in the first episode. So here we go. All right, so the mob wants to kill Gino, all right? They're sick and tired of his newspaper. They're tired of all these stories on the police. They're getting, they got to deal with this somehow, some way. So they go to Henry. Here's where we find out that Henry's kind of like their, not Michael Clayton, but he's kind of like the gay, I'd say the gay Michael Clayton. He's got to clean up things. He's got to try to, keep things on the low. So he's the guy who just takes care of any issues they may have. So that's something's going on here with Henry. We may find out more in the future. But at the same time, I feel like the motivations here for the characters are kind of locked in at this point where, they're all teaming up. So Henry decides, you know what? I could kill him. I could kill Gino, but I'm not going to do it. Don't know why yet. He decides he doesn't want to do it. He's not going to. He's just telling Gino, warning him essentially that the mob wants him dead now. But hey, dude, you got to chill. And from there, I don't know how, Ryan, we got here, but he decides to take, you know what? Let's go on a trip to Fire Island. Let's join the gang.
Yeah, Henry has a moment where he just kind of wants to reveal the whole truth to Gino and let Gino see it for himself. So Gino joins along and literally catches Patrick with Sam on the beach trying to dispose and hide the body, right? So he's like, what the hell is going on? You're my partner and you're doing what right now? I mean, the level of shock that someone would have at this moment is just incredible. So he's along for the ride, and this is when we get the flashback that I mentioned earlier. Patrick basically tells the whole story of what went down, and it's not a true AHS season, Greg, unless there is a fun little flashback to kind of show us some context of what happened.
Okay, Ryan, now, where would you rank this scene with Patrick, Sam, and the Gimp compared to the scene, at least for me, huge hotel vibes with the sex addiction demon. I really think the addiction demon, I'm shocked they didn't just put him in that room somewhere in the background while this whole thing was going on, because damn.
Yeah, this was a lot, Greg. This was a lot, even for AHS standards.
Wow.
There were obviously a lot of drugs at play, and they were partying. It started off as a flirtatious, innocent thing and turned into something much more horrible, where Billy, I think his name was, is killed from this sexual act. Yeah, this was very, very hard to watch, even for American Horror Story standards, Greg. Now, after Billy is killed, the first reaction for Sam is, fear, and he pulls a gun on Patrick. Patrick's like, I am the cops, and he's shocked that he's a cop. He didn't even know that. But that's how we know the tie-in, that Sam does have a connection with the cops, and now he kind of has kind of a piece of blackmail on Patrick for years later.
And I know what you know about pain.
But that's when they call in Henry, and then we see the connection of how they know Henry is a fixer for the mob and all that kind of stuff. Kind of like Harvey Keitel in Pulp Fiction can get rid of a body. But then we see Henry show up, and then Henry has his own person. And of course, that person is Mr. Whiteley. Mr. Whiteley is good at cutting up people. Mr. Whiteley, we learn later, is a male nurse, did some medical school, so knows and has a passion for, I would say, Greg, a passion for cutting up corpses and putting them together, as we saw in present day in the end of last episode. But the one thing I did notice here was, and we talked about this before in the season, is the rules that Mr. Whiteley kind of stands by, the values, although being a psychopathic murderer of certain people, targeting a certain group of people, definitely has some rules here. Will do it, but only because if he doesn't do it, Henry's going to tell his mother about his sexuality. Maybe hasn't yet come out.
Yeah.
But like, who's Whiteley's mother? What are the implications here? How horrible of this is? Like, you're still gonna go along and cut up a dead body, but you don't want your mom to know that you might be gay, or like
that's serial killer. That's still a trait though.
True.
We saw. I mean, anybody who watched Mindhunter, you know. So we'll just leave it there. That this is a trait of serial killer. So I see it. I wonder though. Are we going any further though with the mom thing? I'm curious. We'll see. I don't know, but I would have to think that we're going to get a little bit more even going forward here on the backstory for Mr. Whiteley, because that is everyone's together now. Now we're starting to link it all together, and at this point, something's got to break. I think there's something more here. But I also am happy that there really isn't that much supernatural ghosting at the moment, other than Big Daddy. Even then, we'll go back to this later. I still have questions about how this is all going down, especially with the disease going through the town right now.
So, Greg, back to present day, Patrick, and I laughed out loud at this. He puts two and two together and then realizes Mr. Whiteley is the person that's been murdering a bunch of guys around New York City, the Mai Tai killer.
Patrick!
Patrick. I understand. Now, you could explain this one way, Greg, that he was in such a state of shock back in the 1979 flashback when everything went down, that he just killed somebody unknowingly as on accident, that he was in shock and didn't really realize who's in the room. But Mr. Whiteley's in the room. Henry and Mr. Whiteley are in the room post death of Billy. But then, there's some shared glances in the hospital as he's chasing Mr. Whiteley. There's a wave. I mean, correct. You might have an inkling that, like, hey, the guy that helped cover up the murder, maybe he's involved in these murders in present day because of, and then literally go reach out to Sam, reach out to Henry, like, let's stop this. I think Patrick has a set of morals that, like, he's a good cop, he's a good person that wants to, like, end this terror throughout New York City, right? But he did a horrible thing as well. So I guess it's kind of hard for him to come clean about everything, right?
Yes, so that's my first thought was, okay, yes, they're all in the room when it happened, Lin-Manuel, but yes, they were there, but yes, he was scared he was going to be implemented. He thought, okay, somebody could rat on him for what happened in there, but at the same time, once he saw him in the hospital, you would think he would tell Henry or Sam, I think this is the guy. I know this person. You guys know him. Can you track him down for me? I'm a cop. I can figure this out, and we can do the rest from there. None of that happened. All he needed was an address. And he probably could have... But then, of course, then we don't have a season. We don't have a season right. But at the same time, Patrick, come on. I'm just thinking of, like... Remember in the Dark Knight, and Harvey's on the bed, and, Joker comes in, and he's got the little mask on. And so it's the meme. I know everyone's seen it, but it's just the fact that he didn't know it was him until he took off the damn mask. I get the same vibes with Patrick.
Hi.
And with all this going on, Ryan, Gino's just like, whatever. He's been through it all. He's just like, I'm just gonna just let this play out and keep fighting and try to see if I can solve this myself. I don't care about any of you. He's reading them, all of them down the line, like, screw you, screw you, screw you. I don't care anymore. I'm out. I'm going to go get some help with Henry now, and we're going to solve this.
I think you and I are in the same boat, Greg, where we're like, just save Gino at all costs. Like, he
Correct.
seems like a good person. He doesn't deserve this. He's
too.
going through hell. Adam as well. He's going through some hell. The poor guy, if the fleas, the nearly murdered multiple times. Now he has lesions popping up on his skin. It doesn't look good for him. But yeah, you knew this was going to go bad immediately from the jump. Mr. Whiteley, I like this touch, offers Henry a drink. Do not drink that. Obviously,
Slide that away.
Henry knows not to drink that. He's heard enough stories around town. But then, he tries to get him in the bathroom, and I kind of knew that this was headed in the wrong direction, that Mr. Whiteley was going to kind of reverse the tables on him, inject him with some stuff and get him in the car. So Gino has we're left with Gino basically reaching out to Patrick on the payphone there, who you could believe, has no trust in the person that was your partner, but you've realized all these new things about them in just that day, and he has no one else to turn to, but he's seen Henry getting taken by Mr. Whiteley. So a fun little cliffhanger to end episode 6.
Hello? Patrick the killer has Henry.
What? Gino.
I need you.
So Greg, a handful of things were answered. We kind of got some new twists in the last 2 episodes.
Yes.
We know more about the Mai Tai killer, aka Mr. Whiteley, but the big question mark for me still is Big Daddy. You and I talked about this before. Is it a larger allegory for HIV, for the AIDS scare, or is it a real person terrorizing everyone in New York City? Is it a ghost of someone maybe that was murdered in the past years ago? All we get from Theo has said, "Oh, Big Daddy is dead. He's no longer here." But there are photos of him clearly in Sam's place. So what do you think is ultimately going to be revealed about Big Daddy?
Again, I'm still rooting for the allegory here for HIV/AIDS crisis, but this is AHS. And then once we got that, I almost thought they're going to reveal it this time when we saw the skull with the mask on. I was like, oh, okay, here we go. It's Big Daddy's haunting from he's going back to get his revenge. No, it's still none of that. You can't tap it just yet of what it is. I can't clock it, but I still get a little bit of Sleepy Hollow vibes too. If someone's controlling Big Daddy, having him go out there and do whatever. But who's that person controlling him? Only person you can think now is either Sam. Certainly not Henry, because he probably would have asked for help to stop him from getting caught by Mr. Whiteley. So it's weird. Kathy again. So if we do Sleepy Hollow, if you know how that ended, there could be some Kathy going on here. We could have some Lupin. We don't. I feel like there's something here with this character that we don't know yet. But at the same time, I just can't. I like it too that I can't clock it yet. What's happening here with Big Daddy, because it's so out of what we've typically seen with these like entities in the past. I like it. And I would even love it if they never revealed it, if they didn't actually do it, because then yes, I could be like, just stamp down allegory, but we'll see. Do you think it's somebody? Do you think, first of all, Ryan, do you think Big Daddy's dead, or do you even think it's Big Daddy, or are we going to find out it's just other people that have been causing these crimes and murders throughout the city?
Yeah, I think I'm on the same side as that you are right now at this point, that it is just that looming threat of what's going on in New York City during this time period that really happened. And it's kind of like the visual representation that we see in this show is representing the death that is taking over everyone. And we see the gradual declining health of everybody involved, and kind of just spreading throughout the community.
All right, everyone, that's it for us over here. Bennett right here, he's telling me he has to go use the bathroom as well. What do you guys think is going on with Big Daddy? Let us know in the comments down below, and we're going to see you back here next week for the next 2 episodes. Bye-bye.